Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise, and today I want to talk about what the impact of the New South Wales state budget is going to be on property prices in New South Wales. Okay, now we have had three state budgets announced this month, New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia, but it's New South Wales that had the most number of incentives related to buying property, primarily for first home buyers. Okay, so what I want to do is first of all explain what that first home buying scheme is, what it means for first home buyers, and then what it could mean for the property market going forwards. Here we go. Winners and losers in the New South Wales budget. Winners, first home buyers. Experts say stamp duty adds a further 2.5 years to an average worker's journey in saving for a house deposit. Under the new first home buyer choice scheme, house hunters can choose to opt out of stamp duty by paying an annual levy of $400 plus 0.3% of the land value of the property. And that's important, I'll come to that in a moment. Eligible first home buyers can choose to join the scheme from January 16 next year, or January 16, 2023. So what does that mean for a first home buyer? Well, it means that they don't need to pay the tens of thousands of dollars on stamp duty for property prices up to $1.5 million. Instead, they just pay their $400 plus 0.3 of the percent of the land value. Okay, so for example, let's say a first home buyer is looking to buy an $800,000 property for argument's sake. Okay, then they would instead choose to rather not pay the stamp duty, but pay $400 plus 0.3% of the land. Let's say the land value is $500,000. 0.3% times $500,000 is $1,500. So it's $1,500 plus $400 or $1,900 per year. Okay, that's how that scheme will work. Now, the thing is though, that there are already first home buyer incentives for people who are looking to buy property for under $800,000. All right, so now this increases it though to up to $1.5 million. Now, is that a good thing? Well, the data shows that average first home buyers generally don't look to spend more than say $900,000 anyway. Okay, so it doesn't look like this scheme is going to give a huge amount of extra first home buyers anything, because first home buyers, their incomes are, I guess, just a little bit lower. It's just the way it goes. They're starting off, okay? But the other thing though to consider is that it only allows people to go up to $1.5 million, and it's only for first home buyers, not for everyone, okay? But the median house price in Sydney is roughly $1.6 million, depending on which report you read. But if a first home buyer can only go up to $1.5 million without paying the stamp duty, why would they then want to go higher than that? All right. So what's that going to do? And remember, this scheme only kicks off in January of 2023. I think it's going to allow in Sydney the lower quartile, the cheaper properties. And when I say lower quartile, I'm talking about properties priced up to $829,300. I had to write that figure down to be accurate. I think that lower quartile will continue to bubble along. I'm not sure you're going to see a huge amount of growth, but you are going to see it sort of go flatlined. But then again, even without the change of scheme that we've seen from the local government, from the New South Wales state government, check out what's been happening to the Sydney market when you look at quartile by quartile. What I mean by this, when you look at the lowest 25% of property prices, the most expensive 25% of prices, and then the middle 50% of prices. So check out this data here. So here we have Australian dwelling values, quarterly change in stratified hedonic dwellings index, 3 months to May. It's the key thing is the data from CoreLogic, okay? And what you can see is if you look at Sydney here, okay, you can see that if you look at the code here, the dark green is the lowest 25% of values, the light green is the middle 50% of values, and I guess the black is the highest 25% of values. And what you can see is in Sydney is the highest 25% of values, they've had the most amount of drop, okay? Then the middle 50%, that's also had a drop. But the lowest 25%, you may not be able to see it on the screen, has actually had a slight increase. Okay, so it's increased about 0.1 of a percent. Okay, again, just quickly, if we look at Melbourne, for example, again, the lowest quartile has increased, but the mid-range properties have sort of dropped slightly, and it's the upper end that have dropped considerably. But then look at markets like Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, it's all been rising. Hobart has seen a couple of the lower price markets still rising, the mid-range rising, but the upper end falling. So I bring that up because it shows, therefore, that in Sydney, the cheaper properties are still roughly holding their value, okay? And now with the fact that, someone may not need to pay the stamp duty, it's allowing them, based on what we read earlier on, to get into their first home sort of 2.5 years earlier because they don't have to save that stamp duty for 2.5 years. I think you're going to see a little bit more demand coming back into the market at the lower and mid-range points, okay? But again, it's only going to start from January. So think about this. If you're a first home buyer, and let's just say now, maybe you're a couple and you're buying a property for, say, $1.1 million in Sydney. Would you want to buy now, or would you wait till after the scheme begins in January, right? You're probably going to surely wait till in January, aren't you? Because it allows you to save the stamp duty. Yes, you're going to pay the ongoing land tax, sure, but it's going to allow you to avoid paying the stamp duty if you can do that, okay? Others are going to be in a position where maybe they can't afford that, say, $1.2 million home as a couple right now, but there will be from January or February because they don't have to worry about the stamp duty, okay? So what I think you're going to see is that you're going to see a further slowing in demand from first home buyers between now and January, okay? Especially that significant minority that are looking for property prices between sort of the existing $800,000 threshold and now the new $1.5 million threshold. They're going to probably wait until January, February, especially if they want to save on that stamp duty, either because they don't have the money for it or they prefer not to spend 30, 50 grand, whatever it is on stamp duty, okay? So therefore, though, what you're going to see in the media is you're going to see people going, look at Sydney property prices now falling even further for the next few months. And then January, February, you're going to see, oh my goodness, look at all this demand. Look at property prices starting to rise, because property prices are essentially a function of supply and demand, okay? But that's really only going to be focused on that sort of $1.5 million price point and below. Remember, the median house price in Sydney is still roughly $1.6 million, so it's higher than the new threshold. So that means that whatever the New South Wales government's going to do, it's not going to affect at least 50% of house prices in Sydney, all right? And so therefore, I think that short term, yes, you're going to see a bit of noise in the media about property prices dropping further and then this surprise rise that they're going to see in 2023. But if you're listening to me, hopefully, when you see that, you'll know, okay, that's exactly what's expected to happen because of just, what these schemes are and when they come into force, okay? But for regional markets, though, I think it will really prop them up, because the moment you start going outside of Sydney, you have a whole plethora of choices for under $1.5 million as a first home buyer, okay? Add the fact that people can continue to work remotely, and I do think that it'll be the regional areas in New South Wales that will benefit most from this new scheme, not so much the Sydney market, okay? Sydney market is just priced too high. I think the Sydney market will continue to struggle. I'm not saying it's going to be cataclysmic, no, but I'm also saying that you're not going to get a lot of capital growth in the Sydney market for the next little while. I've said this before, I think it's going to be a bit of a basket case when it comes to capital growth, but I do believe that the changes that the New South Wales government is putting in place with relation to stamp duty is going to reduce the fall in property prices generally, because you're going to see that invigorated first home buyer demand, which I think that's very strategic and why it's happening right now, number one. But secondly, I think you're going to see regional markets start to and continue to really hold their value and potentially even rise again from the new year. Hi, it's Nero here again, and thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw and you're looking for a proven recipe, a blueprint on how to build a property portfolio that gives you passive income, then click the link below this video and get a copy of my book, Wake Up Wealthier, How to Build a Property Portfolio that pays you an income each and every month. Okay, when you click the link and you download your book, you can get both the digital version and the audio version in case you don't like reading. All right, so I used to sell this book for $49, but right now I'm making it totally free. Why? Because I want more people to get this information, and I know that a segment of you will then like what you see in the book and choose to reach out to find out more about our services. But even if you don't, if you're serious about building a property portfolio that pays your passive income, then you really want to get my book, Wake Up Wealthier. It contains the secrets that I have fine-tuned over the last 19 years. It's totally free for a limited time. Click the link below.